what problems does Max possess? How do you deal with those problems? What does training camp look like? I mean, you've known since the Frankie fight that this was next.
Yeah.
So what have you prepared for Max? What do you work on?
I haven't really prepared yet. We're like I said, I just listen to him. This is more like a question for him. I'm just a listener and I just do my work.
That's great that you have that much trust.
Yeah,
You know?
and I
That's
trust him
pretty
a lot.
amazing.
Yeah.
The journey continues.
So, Gene, how do you adapt now? Because it's MMA, you know, it's not just like typical boxing or
Right.
kickboxing.
It's mixed, you know. You
Right.
gotta, when we're ready, Brian, you know, in the daytime he's with me.
Right.
At nighttime he's with the Gracie, you know.
But
We
still,
balance everything out, you know, and I find, you know, I'll watch a film of Max Holloway, and I've been watching him pretty much, and he's more or less a stand-up fighter, you know. He's gonna have problems, you know. I'm not saying this, but on the ground, I think Brian, you know, he's more.
And James always has this thing that he tells me. It's kind of like a little thing that James and I always have between him and I. And it normally comes out about, I don't know, 10 to 14 days before the fight. James will look at me and he just gives me this look and he tells me these words, and that is, put the house on it. And he'll look at me and he tells me, put the house on it. And that's when he tells me that he knows that Brian's ready, confident, and he's confident that Brian's going to go out there and do his job. And when he tells me that, it's always like a relief of like, when he tells me that, it's like when the dad tells the kid,
Secret.
you know what I mean? He just tells me those little things like, hey, reassures me of like, hey, Brian's prepared when he tells me that.
I love that.
It's all jokes aside, but, you know, we have to really, really buckle down and train for this guy, you know. He's a great fighter. He's a world champion. He's not there for nothing, you know.
Yeah.
We take all fights seriously, you know. When Brian buckles down, and me, him, and Henner, and the guys who's there for him, you know, we really buckle it down. So, you know.
Do you think it's just about making Max really uncomfortable in a place that he's not comfortable? Is it?
A tough question, but
I feel like for him it's gonna be more of a war. I feel like I see a lot of myself in him, you know, as in terms of the will not to break, the heart, and I think this one is for real. Like, who wants it the most?
Wow.
That's what it's gonna boil down to, and who's willing. I mean, in my opinion, it's like who's willing to die in there, and who's gonna take it to that level, if it does not finish.
So it's something that like a person's made out of, right? Like that you just see this extreme toughness.
Well, I mean, because you could only get so technical. You can only be so this, and when you have two technical people, you see great chess matches. But when you see someone who has that and has this crazy will of just not stopping, that's when you see these crazy fights where you can just differentiate the fighters. And I feel that we both have that. And when you have two guys like that, that's a formula for a great fight.